Hi, and welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We are food bloggers,
Varta Ariaban
and Bita Nazim Kelly, and we're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking and how to incorporate them into today's modern lifestyles.
We're excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use, and also our own cultural stories and perspectives growing up in the U.S. in a Persian family. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 72 of the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We have another special guest on the show today. This time we have the food artist, creative, talented Varta Ariaban. Varta, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you for joining us.
We are super excited to have you on the show because we are in love with your online shop that makes these delectable modern Persian treats that we are so intrigued with. And also you do an amazing Tahdig Art that we want to learn, all your little tips and tricks
of course
you can share with us and our listeners. And yeah, we're super excited to have you. Should we talk about rice and Tahdig and how it's the best thing ever?
I think rice and Tahdig is the perfect intro starter. I think it's the perfect bridge. It's the perfect connector. It's the most relatable food. And I think that's what the beauty of Tahdig is because every culture, every country, every culture you look into, they all have a rice dish. Everyone eats rice. And it's just a difference of how people prepare it. And I think for so many years, people were trying to push kebab and stuff as being the iconic Persian thing. And when Tahdig was just right there that everyone loves. So I feel like every Persian foodie whose page has blown up in the past couple of years owes it all to Tahdig and the relatability of it and why people love it so much. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in finding out what your secrets are to make the perfect Tahdig. Do you ever mess up with it? Are you perfect?
No, I messed up one last night. I mean, whenever you try to make a new one and you try to find a new medium to use, there's always a trial and error. I tried to do one with garlic because I know garlic chips are a thing. So I was like, ooh, if I can just make a garlic chip Tahdig at the bottom. So I cut the garlics and everything. And the smell was fantastic, but the timing was off because the Tahdig itself was perfect, the rice bits and the potato bits, but the garlic bits were just black.
Uh-huh.
So it happens. It happens to everyone.
Yeah. When we're referring to Tahdig, I'm sure all of our listeners know, but Tahdig is the bottom part of a pot of steamed Persian rice that is crunchy and golden brown. And typical ingredients that you use is just the saffron mixed with rice. You can make a beautiful crust out of that. There could be slices of potato, also with lavash bread, or sometimes we sub out tortillas for that. Those are kind of the main things. And what Varta is talking about right now is kind of amplifying that and using other ingredients sometimes to make it aesthetically beautiful. But tell us, how can we make these beautiful works of art on the bottom of our pots of rice?
At the end of the day, it's a fried carb. So whatever you use, it's going to do well. When you put a potato on it, people are like, potato Tahdig. I'm like, look, it's just a giant French fry at the bottom of your rice.
Right. That's right. You do have to put a thick layer of oil on the bottom.
Yeah.
So
a thick layer of oil. I don't think there's any special equipment. It's just knowing your cookware and knowing your stove. Mm-hmm. So I was doing everything here before and I had no problems. And then I moved in, it's an electric stove and I had my pots and pans, whatever. And then I moved in with my husband and he's got a gas stove. And I'm like, oh, crap, I gotta learn. I gotta learn this stove now.
I hear you.
That's a big difference between gas and electric.
It's the joke of, you're an adult when you have a favorite burner. I will only, now in that kitchen, I will only make my Tahdig on the bottom left burner because that burner and I become best friends and I get it. But I also took all my pots over there and I realized the pots that were working really well on the electric stove, they don't work as well on the gas stove. So you really got to work with that. And just to figure that out. But I always say go low and slow and then work your way up because people try to rush it. You can't rush it. And people ask me a lot of times for cookware. They think that they have to buy really expensive or fancy cookware. You don't. The best pots and pans I've ever had have been ones that I got for $20 or less from Home Goods.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Well, I love that. That's right along the lines of what we say. We can't really give a formula. You just have to trial and error it with what you have.
And I highly recommend there's the KitchenAid ones. The KitchenAid nonstick pots work so great. And you can literally get those at Home Goods for $15. Mm-hmm. And I also, for the ones that I make, especially if I'm doing an intricate design and stuff, people think it's a huge pot. It's really not because it's just two of us. What am I going to do? Make, 10 cups of rice.
Right.
So I actually use like a small, like a saucepan size one. And then for the flipping, I use a cake stand. I have like a cute 8-inch or something cake stand that I got from Crate and Barrel. And the diameter of it's perfect to go over, and it just flips over so nicely.
Interesting.
I love displaying like tahdig and food like that on a cake stand for so much more than just cakes. It really just makes the presentation so beautiful.
It really does. Well, especially if you went through all the trouble to like put a design on it, it really is like a centerpiece. You want it propped up a little bit more than everything else on the table. So I'm a big fan of putting your tahdig on a cake stand and just doing the whole flip on a cake stand.
Awesome.
I've never done it on the cake stand. I do get what you mean about you have to find the perfect size, I think. Just to flip it, not lose any of it, not burn your hands.
Well, then also because of the cake stand, because the bottom part is like in the middle, it just makes the flip easier, and like you can grab the sides of it so much easier.
Oh, good point.
It makes the flip a lot easier. And then as far as making like the intricate things, I say to everybody, if you are going to make tahdig for the first time, do the tortilla.
That's the easiest.
Yeah, it's the easiest. It's foolproof. You can't mess it up. Because I get a lot of girls messaging me, and guys too, that like non-Persians that message me saying that like I'm dating a Persian, their family's coming over for the first time. Like I want to impress them with the tahdig. I'm like, don't overdo it.
That's so funny. I always thought I made that up. I thought I was like this genius. And
With the tortilla?
Yeah, the tortilla tahdig. I started doing that because it was easiest, and here it's a thing.
I think it became a thing. I think probably the American-born Persian kids, like probably living in a city where the Persian store is not nearby, you can't find nuna lavash. And then what's like the next closest thing to like a flatbread that you're going to use? Everyone's got tortillas usually like in their house. So it's the easiest one to use.
Yeah, and they come in so many sizes, so you can actually find a perfect whatever fits for your pot. You said you just use a really basic nonstick pot, which that's what I do too. Even though you use a nonstick pot, would you say how much oil you use is very important?
I would say like 1/4 of an inch.
Oh, okay.
1/4 of an inch is perfect. And then whatever the rice, if you're doing a rice one, I push that rice in.
Oh.
Press it in.
You're supposed to like sprinkle the rice. No, for the tahdig layer, I jam it in, and then like once the oily part is done, then I sprinkle the rice on.
Oh, Do you put yogurt, saffron? What else do you put in that first tahdig layer?
It depends. I'm not a big fan of the yogurt egg tahdig. I feel like it's not that crunchy, but I do tell people if like they're just starting out to start with that one. Mix in the yogurt and the egg because you'll learn your stove and your cookware. So like until you learn your stove and your cookware, do the easy ones.
Yeah.
Because if you just keep doing the rice one and it keeps breaking, you're going to get disheartened and you're not going to want to keep trying.
Yeah.
But if you do like the easy ones first and then you learn the heats, and then you can work your way. So it's kind of like, it's like if you're trying to learn to make Italian food, you're not going to start off by making fresh pasta ravioli from the beginning, right? You're going to learn from making like a bolognese and then working your way up. So with the tahdig, you kind of got to do the same thing. You got to work your way up.
Yeah, those are great tips. And then I understand like when you're talking about like pressing it in on the bottom layer is like when you're trying to do like a design or something like that, I can see that would be pretty important to make sure that you have like an even surface.
Yeah.
And then some of the artwork that you do, Tahdig art with like the tortilla ones or with the flatbreads, like you go like to town with like an Exacto knife even, right? Making designs.
Oh yeah, I've got a kitchen designated Exacto knife. And for those, I start out by drawing it on a piece of paper and I use that as like the template. And then I just put the paper on top of the tortilla and cut the shape out.
Wow.
Awesome.
And that's the reason why tortillas work better, because you can't, like, you can cut nuna lavash like into shapes and stuff, but it flakes off too much. And tortillas, like, because they're a little doughier, I guess, they just keep their shape a lot better.
Cool. And then I've noticed sometimes your beautiful tahdigs will also not just have it on the bottom of the pot, but also around the sides.
Yeah, you can get really good tahdig. I find the dark nonstick pots will give you really good tahdig on the side. And if you just have to be patient to go low and low and slow, so it'll take like 30 minutes usually. If you butter the sides really well, you can just kind of stick it in. Like the butter works like the glue; it keeps it in place.
These are such good tips.
I think the side is an underutilized area of tahdig. I mean, even last night when I made dinner, the side tahdig was great.
Yeah.
So you get more tahdig out of your pot.
Yeah, I think we overlook that.
I'm trying all this stuff. Do you have a certain tortilla for the Exacto knife cutout stenciling?
I actually did a test where I tried like multiple different ones, and because I remember thinking like a corn tortilla was going to be great. I thought it was going to come out tasting like a Dorito, but it ended up being disgusting. The flour tortillas work, like the regular white flour tortillas work the best.
White flour tortilla. Okay.
Yeah, and not the bougie ones. Like if you're paying like $4 for the tortillas, you pay too much, it's not going to work.
I know the ones that are in the refrigerator at, your local health food store.
No, don't
They
do those.
smell weird. They're weird. Just get the packaged ones. Yeah.
I get the flour ones from Aldi, and I think they're like $1.99 for like a pack of them, something like that, or maybe $1.50, and those are the ones that work the best.
Okay, so cheap white flour tortilla works best.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
The Wonder Bread of flour tortillas is what you want. You want the most basic one.
Awesome. Those are great tips. Thank you so much for sharing those. I can't wait for our listeners to try to make their own Tahdig art.
That would be fun, and then they can tag it, and like I would love to see. I love when people send me pictures of their Tahdigs when they're like, "Look what I made." I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so inspired. But you're more than a Tahdig girl. You're much more than that.
Yeah, tell us about your shop. I saw that you're looking to bring some new products.
The whole inspiration of it was even when I started my Instagram like food page, it was to just do perfect podcast time because it was to modernize Persian food because it's, thousands of years old. Nothing of it has changed. It's like one story I always tell about, the big inspiration of doing like the desserts is years ago when I was still living at home, my parents were having a mehmoni and my mom was like, I need you to go to the Persian store and get like this, and this, and then this stupid fruit cake. And then you guys know what I'm talking about. The fruit cake with like the jello thing on top, like the jelly layer.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about the tart with all the fruit on top?
Yeah. And then they put like a layer of something on it.
Clear jello almost.
Yeah, like a fruit tart.
Yeah.
And it's at every mehmoni and no one ever touches it. I'm like, everyone buys this stupid $70 fruit cake that no one touches. I was like, Mom, no one ever eats this. And so one time she sends me to go get this thing. I don't get it. I get the fruit cake from Whole Foods and everyone ate it. And my mom was like, you shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, yeah, but everyone ate it this time.
Yeah, so there you go.
It's just, when you think of like the Persian desserts, like the flavors, it's kind of the same flavors, like in different ways. But the design of it hasn't changed. Like the cookies that we get are the same cookies that like our grandmothers were buying. And so I wanted to kind of amp that up a bit and like, because like I said, there's like a revolution with like Persian food going on right now. And there's Persian restaurants like Sofra in New York and Bapa in Florida. They're doing all these things and they're presenting Persian food in such an elevated and beautiful way. People that are like us that like, born and raised in the States, but still very Persian, that we can relate to that more. And I wanted to make desserts that match that don't look like your typical, like I do the Pop-Tarts instead of like your typical baklava, because everyone can get baklava anywhere.
Yeah, it's so creative. And those are so delicious too.
Thank you.
That's why we're so excited to have you, because you're Persian, but modern. You do saffron Rice Krispies and baklava Pop-Tarts. And
Yes, those are so good.
Yeah, just try to switch it up. Like I always say, like, I was born and raised in the States, so I'm American. I'm 100% American, but I'm also 100% Persian. Like, me being Persian doesn't take away from me being American. Me being American doesn't take away from me being Persian. I still know all my stuff. And so I feel like my cookies and my sweets and my stuff represent that completely. Like, it's very Americanized versions of Persian traditional stuff.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And they are delicious, I know, from personal account on all of that. So where can people find you? Where can people look at your stuff and put orders in?
So if you want to see the photos, and I'd like to post like stories of the process, because I think showing people how you make things and they can trust it more, they can relate to it more. People like knowing the process for things. So I always post that on my Instagram. So Varta Melon is my Instagram handle, and I post the pictures and then the stories. I post everything. But then I have vartamelon.com is the website. And if you go there, you'll see the full menu of everything that I offer. And I ship everywhere in the U.S. I try to get international shipping, but it's hard. It's a little expensive.
Okay.
And I'm a little worried about shipping internationally. I feel like it would take too long, and I don't want anyone to get like stale stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that your cookies and your little treats there are going to be perfect for Nowruz, which is coming up pretty soon. Pretty quickly, they'll be here. So
my favorite time of the year. Yeah, I love Nowruz stuff.
Yeah. I remember seeing last year you had those really cute little goldfish as an alternative to real goldfish on people's sofre half seen.
Yeah. There's been a huge trend, I think, in the past like 10 years where people don't put live goldfish. And I used to put goldfish crackers on my half scene as like my way around it. And then I got a little goldfish figurine. And then last year, I think it was maybe like in January or something, I ordered a goldfish candy mold. And it worked. And I was like, let's play around with this. And it worked. And I'm going to bring those back too, because I think a lot of people appreciated having something that was like less wasteful because they got to eat them too. You know, they weren't something they had to throw away or just take up space. So the little gold saffron, it's just hard candy.
Nabots, right?
Nabots, yeah. Just naboted saffron with like an edible gold spray.
They're really pretty. I'm definitely ordering those. But to circle it back to Tahdig,
of course,
here's inspiration if you want to make a template for us and all our listeners for Tahdig Art to try it out when you get to level 2 of Tahdig making. How about something Nowruz-ish, like either flour, you know, something maybe from the half-seen table, either flour, or I don't know if people want to see a fish.
Yeah. Great idea.
So you asked about, like, do I ever have Tahdig fails? One of my big Tahdig fails, and I didn't do it after, haven't given it another go, was I tried to make a half-scene design on the Tahdig.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That's way too hard.
Well, no, I just overcooked it is what happened. But I was like I had all the designs, I had everything on the side and on the top and all this, but it was like I waited till March to do it. I think now I got to start it in February so that in case I mess up, I can do it. Yeah, it'll be Nowruz, but I got to figure out, I got to make the drawings a little more simple this time.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
One more topic we didn't get to because we've been so deep into Tahdig and your yummy modern sweets is, well, congratulations, you're a newlywed.
Thank you. Yep.
In your stories before you got married, you were kind of giving some like behind the scenes snapshots of like what you were going to be giving to your guests. And I saw that aubergine that you had done.
My mom did that, yeah.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. The trail mix.
I know, that's why everyone's like, what's aubergine? I'm like, Persian trail mix. My mom's like, no. And then she like thought about it. She's like, oh yeah, it is Persian trail mix. I'm like, how else are you going to explain it?
That's what I call it on my recipe.
Yeah. My mom did the aubergine to kind of match the colors. So I had a lot of green and stuff. And so she put like dried kiwi, coconut.
Oh, I saw that. It was really, really cool.
That was my favorite. I really loved the kiwi in there. It was such a beautiful pop of color, and that I don't usually see that in traditional aubergine. So that was really noteworthy, and I really loved that.
I think I'm so used to my mom doing stuff like that like I don't even think of it as being different. So
well, that's where you maybe got your creativity, huh?
That's exactly. My mom, I always say my mom is the hostess with the mostest. Like, you know, she does the best setups. Like, she's the one that did our wedding setup.
Oh.
So I get it from her, and she just does everything so beautifully. So usually when I work on something new, I send the picture to my mom of like, how does this look?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, get her approval on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Varta, thank you so much for coming on the show. We had a great time chatting and learning more about Tahdig Art and your sweets and what's to come. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
We'll have your links in our show notes for anyone who wants to learn more about you or follow you on Instagram. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vita. Thanks, Varta.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.